Welcome to Bike Comparers. Today we'll be comparing the Bajaj V15 versus the Honda CB Unicorn 160. Pricing and features. The Bajaj V15 retails for 69,000 rupees on road Delhi, which makes it 12,000 rupees cheaper than the Unicorn 160 non-CBS variant, having a sticker price of 81,000 rupees. The CBS variant of the Unicorn 160 retails for 84,000 rupees, making it just 3,000 rupees more expensive than the non-CBS variant, and totally worth the added safety it gives the mainstream riders. Agreed that it makes it a whopping 15,000 rupees more expensive than the V15, but does it affect the overall ownership cost equation of the Unicorn? We shall answer that shortly. Reliability and after sales service. By far the biggest difference when it comes to the comparison between the Unicorn 160 and the V15 is in terms of the inherent product reliability and service support provided by the two brands. Honda has undoubtedly proven to be much better than Bajaj at providing hassle-free service support in our country. Honda's products themselves are far more reliable than Bajaj's and thus do not require as much maintenance as Bajaj products in the first place. This makes the job easier for Honda service centers who majorly work on routine service, whereas Bajaj's service centers need to put in far more effort on troubleshooting, giving them an impression of substandard service quality. Resale and cost of ownership. The Unicorn 160 is bound to have better resale value than the V15 after 5 to 7 years of usage, mostly because of the superior build quality and reliability of Honda bikes. Expect the Unicorn 160 to depreciate at least 5,000 rupees lesser than the V15. Overall, the total cost of ownership of the CB Unicorn 160 turns out to be 12,000 rupees cheaper than the V15 in terms of total cost of ownership, as it more than makes up for its higher price tag with lower fuel cost as well as better residual value. Performance and tractability. The Unicorn 160 has almost 30% higher power to weight ratio than the Bajaj V15 and just over 10% more torque as well. But that does not mean that the V15 feels underpowered. On the contrary, the V15's low-end torque is quite good compared to the Unicorn 160 thanks to the K-Tech technology developed by Bajaj. However, in the mid-range RPM band, the Honda has a torquier feel, while on a wide open throttle, the Unicorn 160 opens up a huge lead over the V. On the refinement front, Unicorn 160's engine revs quite smoothly, but at some peculiar RPM in the mid-range, the engine makes an annoying groaning noise which is absolutely unexpected from a stalwart like Honda. Overall refinement and exhaust noise is quite impressive on the V15, especially compared to other bikes in Bajaj's portfolio. Smoothness and feedback of the gear shift though could have been much better, especially when compared to the Unicorn 160's gearbox. Handling and ride quality. The V15 has 10 broader tires than the Unicorn 160 at both ends. However, the advantage in width is more or less academic because the compound and tread pattern of the V15's tires is way inferior than the Unicorn 160's, making it surprisingly less grippy around corners than the Honda. V15's wheelbase is also marginally smaller than the Unicorn 160 and it is quite softly sprung too, making it even less suitable for spirited cornering. However, its ride quality, especially at low speeds, is much more absorbent than the Unicorn's, which feels a bit too stiff for a commuter while tackling sharp bumps and ruts at city speeds. Comfort and ergonomics. Both bikes have a handlebar footpeg seat triangle tuned for out and out commuting. The V15 has a hint of cruiser in it, which is evident from its ever so slightly forward placed footpegs and low saddle height, making it a boon for short riders. For taller riders though, it feels a bit cramped. The Unicorn 160 seating on the other hand is just right for riders having a wide range of heights. Unicorn's ergonomics are also more comfortable for longer rides compared to the V15, which tends to induce pain in the lower back on long rides. That brings us to the verdict. The Unicorn 160 is the clear winner of this test. If you go just by the face value, the Bajaj V15 looks like a cheaper, more value for money prospect. But when you dig deeper, you realize that the Unicorn 160 actually ends up being around 10% cheaper than the V15 in terms of overall ownership costs. The Unicorn 160 is also a more technically competent vehicle than the V15 thanks to better performance and dynamics. It is definitely bound to be in better shape than the V15 after a usage of 5 to 7 years and has a track record of needing far lesser unscheduled visits to the service station than any Bajaj motorbike has till date.